Welcome, film fans. On today's episode, we have with us the rising star in Utah, Elijah Amodt. Elijah, welcome to the podcast. And can I say I love your shirt?
Well, thanks so much. Yeah, this whole thing, I definitely had to represent. I'm a fan of the people behind the company of the shirt, so how could I not wear it?
Yeah, so am I. So am I.
Love it. Yeah, thanks
No,
so
I
much for
appreciate
having
it.
me on. I'm excited to be here.
Glad to have you here. So tell us, what have you been up to lately? Well, hold on, back up. First, let's explain a little bit about who you are. You have been acting in Utah now for a while,
hmm
uh, but you've also recently started directing some short films, if I recall correctly.
Yes, sir.
Do you do anything else in the industry? Are you a writer? Or you just an actor and director? I say just an actor and director, like that's not already a ton of stuff.
No, no, you are totally cool. Yeah, so very, very fortunately, I was able to direct my very first project over this summer, this last summer, and yeah, very, very grateful to Sherry. I am not cool enough to, or creative enough at least, to create, written script. Every time I think I have an idea, I'm like, so.
Well, we talked about the fact that I can't do that on a recent episode of the podcast, so we won't go into it again, but I understand. I understand. So tell us about that project a little bit. That was Dazy Girl, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So interestingly enough, I had worked with the star Kaylee Brummer last year in a short film called Flower, and through that I got virtually acquainted to Sherry Brummer, who was the writer and executive producer for Dazy Girl. So she had reached out just before Utah International Film Festival 2025 and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a reader for a table read of scripts that I had worked on. I would love if you would read." And I said, "Thanks so much. Of course, I would love to." And so we did the read. It was really great. I was super interested to see where the story went. You know how it goes at a table read at a festival. You
Yeah,
get maybe
of course.
a few pages. So I was like, "Hey, can I get the rest of the script?" And she had sent it over. And then about a month and a half went by, and she said, "Hey, as much as I would love to have you for the lead, you're a little you're a little outside of the or co-lead, you're a little outside of that age range." I said, "Hey, I totally get it." And she said, "Have you ever considered directing?" And admittedly, I had in a couple of decades though. And so um, I was like, yeah, that would be great, to be honest. Just understanding this is my directorial debut. And she was absolutely understanding, super accommodating, and super trusting in the entire process. So thankfully, as a matter of fact, from one of the panels you were on, but a few others, I had learned invest in pre-production. The more time you spend in pre-production, the smoother
Yes,
principle goes.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So we went ahead and we were making sure we were aligned on our creative vision. We had a crew lined up, and then there were a couple of shifts in that, and then we started the audition process. It was funny. I remember coming back from callbacks, directly stepping onto the dead of night, and I was like, man, what a whirlwind of a day it was. But I was so happy to be on that set.
Yeah, I still can't believe you did your directorial debut at the time we were filming and didn't ask me to come help. Just saying, just saying.
That's fair. That's fair. I will say, I hope you take it as a compliment that I just feel like we couldn't afford you. So that's all
Well,
that
I
was.
like to think that nobody can afford me,
I
which
like it.
means that everybody has to ask for favors.
I like
No,
it.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, we were talking about this with Warren. You've probably heard that clip already, but like, sometimes you just want to get out and do something with your friends. Not everything is about the money. It's nice to get paid. It's nice to get paid enough to survive when you can. But sometimes, you just want to go have some fun. So,
Well, and consider this a standing, you're my guy for the next project I do.
all right, all right.
You and
I'm
Brandon, I would
expecting a call.
absolutely.
I'm expecting a
Deal.
call. All right.
Deal.
Sounds good. So that was your directing debut. Let's talk about your acting. You've done a couple of features now, including Dead of Night, which of course
hmm
is not yet released, but hopefully will be soon. And you also did a film called Among the Eight. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was my first lead in a feature film.
Very nice. And talk to us about that. How was that experience?
It was really, really fun and intense and time intensive too. But I had a wonderful time with the cast and crew. That had come about because of the very first time I was ever on set for anything happened to be the very first student film that the writer director Eric Lozano had ever done. So both of
Okay.
us were kind of having our first, I call it my day one because literally both of us were having our day one. So I did his student capstone and about a year had gone by and he said, "Hey, I've written this feature film. How would you feel about coming on to be a lead in a feature film?" And I don't know if he was not expecting a yes, but who says no to that? So I said,
Crazy people.
absolutely.
Crazy people.
Exactly. And it was great because we had agreed to basically film on weekends. So, those of us with day jobs could still focus on that and then shift to the film. So we knocked out, I think it took about 3.5 months, maybe 3 months to shoot just with that in mind. But it was a great time. I got to know quite a bit of folks, both from the local and the LA based scene. And I learned so much both from a book standpoint. I was recommended two really great books that I think have helped me a lot with script analysis and things like that. And then, of course, the practical skills of maintaining a character over a series of months, and kind of snapping into that character was a great time. So all in all, wonderful time. Our premiere was one of the funnest things I've got to do so far, and I'm looking forward to the projects we did this year called Stay a While, where I'm playing the villain of a horror movie. So it's been pretty exciting to shoot that this year.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
That sounds like fun. Uh,
Mm.
yeah. And I mean, for those that don't know, even 3.5 months on weekends, like it's actually still booking it in terms of shooting time frame. Like, a lot of these big movies you see are shot over the course of 3 months, working 5-day weeks. So to just be doing it on weekends, which is very common for independent films, right? To be moving very, very quickly just due to costs. And I've seen a lot of these lower budget films that just film weekends, and you know, in a lot of ways, I feel like it's worse when they end because at the end of every film, it's almost like you're having a big breakup. It's this big family reunion. You all come together for the wrap party a week later or something, and it's this big family reunion. You're like, and I don't know when I'm gonna see any of you guys again. But when you work with somebody for months like that, it's almost worse. You're like, no, my family. So that's exciting. But congratulations on getting that done. And where is that film available? Amazon, maybe?
Among the eight, yeah, currently it's on Tubi, but
Tubi.
it was
Okay.
picked up by Amazon, Apple TV, Fossum, and a couple of others. But currently it's only live on Tubi so far.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Well, and as always, we'll put links on the webpage for that. But no, that's exciting. So you've been building up your connections here and doing a lot more. I know this past year, what did we do? We did 2 or 3 shorts together. Is that right?
I
Or just the
think,
one?
yeah, we did. Yeah, we did Dead of Night and Perfect Fit
So the
together.
one short and the one feature.
But I did see you because I broke a rule of mine and I did background for a film that Alicia Farmer and John Farmer did, which was Witch of Wonderland. Is that right?
Oh yeah,
And
was
so
that
I
this
saw
year?
you there. I know it's all running together.
It all
Pretty
it all
sure.
runs together. That's true. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean that one's been going on for a little while, and I think I did some stuff at the end of last year and then the beginning of this year. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's probably true. At any rate, point being, you've been doing a lot. Who are some of your favorite people to work with that you've
Oh,
had the opportunity? Some of your favorite people that you've had the opportunity to work with, I should say, not
right,
necessarily the
absolutely.
people you regularly work with, although them too. Besides me, obviously, obviously.
Absolutely. I mean that goes without saying. Man, it's quite an exhaustive list and I feel, if anyone's listening to this and you're like, "Oh, what the heck he didn't say my name," just know I promise it's only because, how it goes when you're live in the moment. But first of all, I mentioned Eric. Eric and I have done 5 projects together now. I think we've developed a really cool like mesh and understanding, and so that continues to grow. He did the editing and prints or cinematography for Daisy Girl,
Oh, okay.
and so yeah, he's a great up and comer himself for directing. He has a great vision and easy to work with, which was great. I agree though. You and Brandon, I was very very lucky to actually because it's funny if you remember this. This actually was our just thinking back when I was still studying film acting. You guys had come to do some demo material for us students, and you guys put together one of my favorite things that I have in my reel, our little kind of Christmas movie that we did.
Oh, that's
Or
right. You
like,
were part of the Hallmark style Christmas thing that we did
yeah,
there. That I'd forgotten that.
That's totally fair. Yeah, I see it all the time, so it's top of mind. But
Well,
I love
like
working with you guys.
I remember
Hmm.
coming in and doing all of that, and I remember that you were there. I'd just forgotten that you were part of the Hallmark one. That one was
Hmm.
fun for us because we've done a lot of romance Hallmark style things. And so then we came in, and a lot of the other projects that we did for that night were more dramatic or serious, a couple of comedy type things. But yours was one of the last ones that we filmed. And for us, it was kind of fun because we'd been doing all this stuff, and then we're like, oh, and this is just what we've been doing for the past 3 years now. So hit the button on the lights and let's roll it, you know? Like, I mean, obviously not quite that easy, but it felt very natural to come in and do that one. It was nice to do that one. It wasn't quite last. I know we had a couple others after that, but towards the end when we were trying to make up time, but yeah, that one turned out really well.
I agree. That's what I was gonna say is that it was obvious you guys have done those projects because to this day I'm just in love with the lighting. It was so great.
Yeah, and that was all Eric Pasternak for sure. He did a great job on that.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yep. So I love working with you guys. Of course, I'm very confident she's going to be kind of a mainstay for this podcast and just anywhere else. Anyone in the Utah film community, Charla is one of my favorite people to work with behind and in front of the
Of
camera.
course, of course. I mean, she gets mentioned pretty much every time I ask that question. Everybody loves working with Charla. And and everybody says the same thing, and we've said it who knows how many times at this point. But it's not just that she's a good actress, which she is. She's an
Mhm.
excellent actress. It's just the fact that she's so much fun to work with.
Mhm.
Nobody has a bad experience with Charla. She doesn't create drama on set. You're always happy to see her. Like she's just so easy to work with and so much fun to work with that's not surprising. I think everybody loves working with Charla. So
Exactly. And
not surprised at all there.
I didn't know how you two had met. So hearing that episode with Warren about how you two had met, I thought that was great. And that's so Char. I love that. So that was
Yeah.
great.
No, it was quite the experience for sure. And that was again, it was the first feature I'd sound mixed. So not only did I not know Charla, I didn't know her reputation either at that point. Like I wasn't inside of the community enough to have heard about a lot of people. I was just beginning to meet people. So it was kind of nice to meet her early on before I knew who she was. And have that experience. It was definitely a lot of fun for sure.
And then, of course, ever since, I mean, I love seeing her in Love and Focus, the Masquerade Mix-Up. She was amongst my favorite things to see in Masquerade Mix-Up. Her character, I think, is just so perfectly well aligned to her. I was like, oh man, it was awesome.
Well, that was another interesting one that obviously we'd worked with Charla a couple of times at that point and whatnot. The original idea for that character, kind of this fairy godmother type character that we'd kind of put her in as the best friend of the main character. And so our initial thoughts were to have somebody a little bit on the younger side play that character. But the more we thought about it and the more we kept looking at options and seeing people's reels and things, we just kept coming back to no, this just really needs to be Charla, and that age gap won't matter.
It's
And it
true.
didn't.
It didn't.
It didn't.
So perfectly cast. And we all have like office friendships, totally agnostic to age, but even then.
Absolutely. And sometimes you forget that like age matters a lot for your friends when you're in high school. But after that, it really doesn't. And so it was a concern of ours that was completely invalid. And we knew that the second we made that decision, it was like, no, this will work. This will work.
Yeah.
And it was the right call for sure. We
So
were
glad you guys
very
trusted your
grateful to have her.
instincts. Absolutely.
But yeah.
Likewise, she played the mom to one of the lead characters called Sam. So she played the mom to his character. It's not a large part by any stretch of the imagination, but what she does with any part she's given is just amazing. The moment that the door opens on her character, I just knew. I was like, I'm so glad we have her on this project. So she did amazing.
Remind us again which project that is.
Apologies, that was Daisy Girl.
Okay, and Dazy Girl. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's always the problem with these podcasts. We talk about all these projects, and I always have to remember myself to name them as
Like
we're
we need
going through.
context. We need context.
I need to know what I have to go watch.
Exactly.
But yeah, and okay, Dazy Girl, it is playing at the Utah Film Festival this year, is it not?
Thankfully so, yes. I'm super excited for more folks to get to see it.
That's that's excellent. Of course, by the time this airs, Sorry, audience, the Utah Film Festival will already be over, but it is nice to know it is going to be in the festival, and hopefully it will show up somewhere that everybody can watch it later.
Yep.
But for now, among the eight, among the eight. But yeah, what are some of your favorite experiences on set? What have you done that has just solidified your desire to continue in this crazy industry?
Right? Oh goodness, because it's got to be the passion. Like everything just keeps us going, and the people.
Of course, it's definitely not the hours.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the hours or the miles, everything else. Goodness. Well, thankfully, I've had a ton of really great experiences doing it was funny, over this summer I did my first like full action part and my first prosthetics, like full face prosthetics part in
Ooh.
one. So it's definitely gonna be, it's a passion project. If you've ever heard of Calvin Jackson, he usually does sound, but
Yeah, I just worked on with Calvin on the Billionaire's Secret Air, which we talked
oh,
about briefly
nice.
on
Yeah.
Warren's episode.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
yeah,
forgot he was
he
on
did
that.
sound for us there. Yeah, he was our sound mixer.
Nice. Yeah. So he wrote and directed. It's called Monday Lasagna, just a little short film, again, just for friends, basically. But it will be, distributed online and elsewhere.
Sure.
But, I've been wanting to do stunts for a while, and he and I were on set doing something last year, and he was like, "Hey, I have this crazy idea," because he loves Garfield. He's like, "I want to put Garfield and John Wick together." So the whole premise
That
is
is a
somebody
crazy idea.
steals, right? So somebody steals Garfield's lasagna, and he needs to track down and get his lasagna back, and that's the premise. So, but
That is hilarious.
yeah, it was really fun because it was nonstop fights and guns, prop guns throughout. And so getting to have very, very safe but very rushed firearm training was a blast. And then also just some of the fight choreography. I had a background in boxing, but nothing like cool with kicks. And so getting to do that over this summer was a blast. And not have my face literally melt off because it was just prosthetics all over. When I took this thing off, I looked
Uh,
like something out of a fever dream. It was just like orange rims around my eyes, so it was nuts. But that was definitely a blast. And honestly, I'm gonna be kicking myself tonight because I know I'll be in bed like, oh, I should have talked about this. But really, our Utah film community, the stuff that we're doing just behind the scenes while we're waiting is just always such a really fun time because we all when we're on set, especially when we're on your sets, because you've said this and I totally agree, be somebody who's great to work with, just hands down, regardless
mhm.
of talent. If you're great to work with, you're coming back, and well, of course, up to a particular level at least.
Right. Obviously.
Yeah. I really love that because it's true. I mean, anytime we're between scenes killing time, just recently on Stay a While, you're usually like in some form or fashion, especially when you get into the 3 o'clock hour, a.m., 3 o'clock, delirium sets in and you just start, going crazy, doing silly stuff. And it's just, it's always so fun. So I know I'm going to have other stories, but the highlight coming to mind now is definitely pretending to fight a bunch of goons in a warehouse. We did one-oneer where honestly, like there was no AC, right? Because you can't have it for
Of
sound.
course not. Yeah.
Middle of summer, I'm in prosthetics with layers because it's a suit that's not built to breathe.
Of
And we're
course not.
running this like 1.5 minute that probably got trimmed down to 1 minute oneer over and over and over again. And we finally nail it. And as soon as he's like, okay, we're good, we're moving on, I was like, okay. And I was like ready to pass out because it was just so much heat. But you just love it. You just love to do it. So, um,
We did a movie that hasn't been released yet, so I'm not going to mention the name of it, but where we did the exact opposite to a creature actor. We had this alien in the film, and we put him in this alien costume that was essentially a very thin leotard and styrofoam. And then we took him up and did an overnight shoot at Granite Flats in like
no.
October. And of course, didn't have proper anything because we're idiots. Every time we'd gone up to scout the location, it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was warm. And then the day we go up, it's cold and windy, and this guy is stuck in this costume, freezing to death. And we're like, so we've got a Fernie we can throw around you. Come sit in somebody's car and we'll turn on the heater.
Yeah.
and, but he's in a full alien costume, so that was kind of difficult. And to his credit, this was James Christian Morris.
I figured I was thinking it would
And
be him.
yeah,
Amazing creature actor.
absolutely. He was wonderful, and to his credit, at least I never heard any complaints from him. He kind of just took it and rolled with it and then gave us an amazing performance. And I'll probably talk more about that movie when we're actually getting close to release, but we've had a couple of hangups in post that have just pushed it back. We filmed that quite a while ago, and hopefully it's going to come out this year. Yeah, we've been delayed. So we're not going to actually mention the name. Sorry, guys.
I am excited to hear more about it though, for sure.
Sure. No, that was a fun one. We had some stunts and things in there, but yeah, we got to get it done, and I don't want to get people too excited until we're actually getting close. But yeah, we did the exact opposite to somebody. Instead of burning them to death, we froze them to death. So
And then that's how it goes
I
with
hear you.
Hallmark movies too sometimes, right? Where they're in winter clothes and you shoot those in like summer, right?
Yeah, we have not done as much of that. Like we shot Love and Focus, which is our only one that has snow in it, in February with no snow. Which, yeah, that was just a whole thing. We're like, it's February, there'll be snow, no snow. So almost all of our snow
Utah.
was created by a snow machine, and it probably wasn't enough.
No, it
But
looked
our other
great.
ones have not been winter centric, so we haven't done that. But yeah, a lot of those Hallmark movies do get filmed in July. It is kind of funny because they'll have those winter coats, and it's sometimes they have to go in and like VFX the breath because it's not cold enough for your breath to be seen. Sometimes they just don't bother, but it is funny. Good old movie magic, the crazy things that we do. I will say this about Love and Focus though. When we go up the mountain and we're filming on top of a frozen waterfall, that was all real. That was
That's
actually a
awesome.
frozen waterfall with real snow and real ice, and terrified us to death to
I bet.
be up there and that close to the edge. We weren't really that close, but just being up there gets you a little scared, at least as a producer.
Oh, for
So,
sure. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Being close to the edge and then like no firm ground. No, thank you. Yeah.
yeah, again, like we weren't actually that close and it was all firm ground, but it's just there's a lot of ice and things and and of course the actors have no fear and are just like, "Oh, let's get a little bit closer." No. "Oh, let's run around and be playful." You're scaring me now. Don't
Right.
slip.
I was going to say, from my perspective, I promise most of us are. We just are acting, so we're not.
Right. Right.
I love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had the same thing in Dead of Night. Dan Folks, great actor. Obviously, we've used him for a few movies now. Always great to work with, but there is one scene in there that is a stunt shot that he actually did the stunt for. And, it's this small wire pull. And I say small wire pull. We planned it to be a small wire pull, and it was a relatively small wire pull. But, as Dan's going on, he's like, no, 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 pull it harder. No, let's make it a bit bigger. Let's go further. And we're like, Dan, we don't want to kill you on this thing. It's fine. We're going through a doorway. You could easily smack your wrist on the way out and break it. It'll be okay.
I love it.
Okay, Dan.
It's you have to though. If it sells, I love it,
Uh,
and I'm not surprised. Dan is just so
Oh
cool.
yeah, no, and the stunt turned out great. It looks wonderful on film. He did a great job with all of that. But it is kind of funny from the producer's perspective, who has to be worried about insurance and safety and all of that stuff. We often plan these things a little bit smaller and then they get bigger, and the actors are often the
Let's
ones that
do
make
it.
them bigger. At least for our little films, we aren't asking anybody to do anything too crazy, so they're always like, "No, we can get a little bit more wild." And in the other film that will not be named, we had a similar instance. We pull this guy off of a four-wheeler, and the actor was our stunt guy. Like we hired a stunt guy who could also act. So,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, you just need to, we're talking about like a 1 or 2 foot pull. That's it. You just need to come off of the four-wheeler, and then we're gonna cut. He's like, okay, yeah, yeah, no problem. And then he rigs up this big wire, and I'm like, okay, all right, small pull that just gives him a lot of leverage, whatnot. Great. And then, do you know Halem Medina?
Oh heck yeah.
So let's just start off with the fact that Halem is a huge dude. He body doubled for a photo shoot, I think, for The Rock.
I think he's done one other project, but yeah, exactly. Yep.
But like that's who this guy is. He's this big guy with a lot of height and a lot of muscle. And they brought him and I believe it was Corbett McAllister to come and help do the pull. And I don't think Corbett actually helped with the pull. I think he helped rig everything up. But
Yeah.
then when it came time to do the pull, they're just like, yeah, we'll just let Halem handle it. And Halem does this jump off of a tree stump and then just jerks this line all the way down. And he ended up sending our stunt guy flying by like 15 feet
My
straight up
gosh.
into the air. The first take, he hit the wire.
Oh my gosh.
We had to redo it because he pulled too hard.
He's like, we got to do it again.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, we spent all day rehearsing this thing
Right.
and like, and then did a couple of different takes on it. But it was just nuts. This thing that I'm like, yeah, a little 2-3 foot pull turns into this massive pull. But yeah,
I love that.
it was wild. So
And I'm not
those things
surprised
are
because
always fun.
Salem is, yeah, he's a buff dude. We were, I
Yeah.
actually had seen him around quite a bit, but then we did a commercial earlier this year, and then we ended up working on a project that I can't talk about yet, but we weren't on set at the same time. He was a security
Uh-huh.
guard, no surprise, right?
Right. Yeah.
But so I finally got to talk to him, and yeah, I mean, he's a super down to earth guy, and it was great to just chew it up with him. But while we're waiting, it was at like a major skating rink. It was, but there was also a gym there. And so like, well, at the time I was super crazy about my summer body, so I was like, well, I'll just do a couple of curls and things like that. And then Halem came walking up. He's like, hey, how you doing? And we were talking. And then as soon as I handed him the curl bar, I knew, it was basically a paperweight for him. He was
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, really great guy. I love that. So note to self though, if we want a good selling, wire pull, Halem's our guy. Just for my own sake, be ready.
To pull, yes, to pull. The whole our stunt coordinator and the actor that did all of this was Dwee Beck. It also helps that Dwee's a smaller guy. He's, I don't know, probably what, 5'6", something like that, 5'8" maybe. And I mean, he's probably a lot heavier than he looks, just given how much muscle mass that guy has. But him compared to Halem, it's like, yeah, he'd probably bench Dwee with one hand and
Yeah,
ask for more weight.
exactly.
But Dewey did a great job putting together the right team for sure. It was excellent. But yeah, Halo. Oh man,
I'm so excited to hear
wild,
more about
wild.
that though. I got to hit him up.
Yeah, no, I'd say talking of Halem though, you want to see a fun project with Halem in it. Watch The Curse of Crom.
Oh,
That
I
was a
have to.
film from Rob York that I did DIT for it and helped produce it. Uh, and I mean, watching Halem play a high schooler was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he looks like The Rock, and so it's like if we were doing a show about when Rock was in high school,
Hi, fellow kids. Like that
right?
Buscemi coming up.
Right.
I didn't get to see the sequel. Did you work on the sequel?
Sort of. I was not on set at all for that one. Unfortunately, the timing just didn't work out. And so I ended up doing some of their paperwork and like payroll and things. So I emailed with pretty much everybody, but was not on set. So, and that's
I
actually
love that you
somewhat of a
like know so much that you could be like, I guess I'll do this element of this set of that one and going on. That's so cool.
it's what happens when you have no money and have to do so many things yourself. I don't
Best way to learn.
recommend it, actually, but it does come in handy from time to time. But no, that one was actually a bit of a disappointment for me because I couldn't be on set. They had Ryan Bailey in there, who was also on Mythica Stormbound and is now doing Seeking Persephone with Jake Stormoen and has been doing a lot of cool stuff. And so Ryan's one of those people that I have wanted to work with and was kind of excited that she was going to be on that project. And then I was never able to make it out to set. And so we've emailed back and forth, but, have we really worked together? Well, we haven't met. So, I mean, sort of.
Yeah,
So
like not.
hopefully we'll do something else together down the road, but that was the big disappointment for me was I wasn't able to be on set and work directly face to face with all of those guys. But yes, I was involved with Crom 2 a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, the just like you're saying, where like when you're done with a set, you're like, oh man, I hope to see you all again. So there's a family reunion, I bet, element of it too, getting to see folks that you liked working with. So that's tough. But I will say, what I like is where I don't know if you know this, for Batman Begins, Cillian Murphy actually tried out for Bruce Wayne, and Nolan loved him. but he wasn't quite the fit he needed. And they've done like so many other projects. What was it? Inception, things like that. But he never. Nolan always wanted him for a leading part, but he just needed to find the right fit. And it was, I think it was whatever the time is between Batman Begins and Oppenheimer. That's how long it took. But I always say things happen in their own time. So I'm sure, who knows, 2026 might be the year where you get to work with Ryan.
It might be. It might be. We'll see. But no, you're right. Some of these things just take time. A lot of the people that I'm doing stuff with this year, I met years ago and we just hasn't aligned yet properly. And I mean, even with us, like how long have we known one another and we didn't get you into one of our films till this past year?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's been a couple of years at least.
I want to say it's 3 years. Yeah, three
That sounds
maybe.
about right.
Right? Yeah. So, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Always have the mindset of being, gratitude first. Always gratitude first. No expectations, gratitude. So, and I'm very
Yeah.
happy I got to collab.
Yeah, it was fun. Well, I think the last question and the most important question, this is usually where I ask people what their favorite flavor of ice cream is, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go more film centric. What is the movie that you watched that made you want to get into this industry?
Man, I love that question.
Sorry, I gave you no warning, so
No, no, you're totally cool. And it will probably change, to be honest, even though it's kind of a set thing in the past, but I've been inspired through film my entire life. And
sure.
so, there's so many elements that are compelling storytelling. I think the thing, man, I would say, great question. I think I'm just going to go to like the thing that made me realize that it was real people, this tangible thing, right? That maybe in some
Uh-huh.
way it could be within reach. Of all the things, it was a behind the scenes of MASH, the
Okay.
TV show MASH. So my dad was a huge
Classic show.
fan, right? And I didn't know there was a movie that had flopped. Thank goodness the TV series got greenlit because, I mean, amazing show. But yeah, so my dad had this cassette of bloopers. I'm that old, VHS. By the way, it's a VCR, everyone. It's not a VHS player. That
Right.
kills me. But so, I remember my dad was watching the bloopers and I happened to be walking into the front room asking what he's doing. And I'm like, Hawkeye, and I'm like watching him because he's one of the writers
Uh-huh.
for MASH, and so I was like watching him talk about these stories of writing it and some of the things he did to get around censors because they were pushing the limits a lot back then. And
Hmm.
I was like, wait a minute, yeah, of course, like these are real, living, breathing people bringing these breathing stories to life. And that was just really kind of an aha moment for me. But to kind of narrow down to like the moments that had inspired me or films that had inspired me, I mean, I would take the whole time we have to just go through the entire list. I'll say
There's
that one of
always
my
that.
favorite, right? One of my favorite movies from a performance perspective that inspires me to this day is Interstellar. For me, that's a massive masterpiece from storytelling and sci-fi.
Interstellar is a great film, for
Right.
sure.
So,
On on that note, probably so there are kind of two big influences for me, the ones that really got me excited. Not Interstellar, but related to it, Apollo 13 is
oh yeah,
probably
Spielberg,
it's
right?
yes.
Hmm.
Or no, that is Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, of course. Sorry,
Yeah.
Ron Howard. Hmm.
I'm trying to remember. Spielberg might have been involved with that somehow as a producer or something, but it was directed by Ron Howard. And that film is always on my top 5 list of greatest movies ever made. But it was one that, it's just such good storytelling and such an uplifting movie that it was one that I watched and I'm like, oh, this is what I would like to do as a filmmaker. And then the other one, which was more of a just kind of a reaffirmation of loving producing and filmmaking, is John Carter. It
Okay.
did not do as well as a lot of people were hoping, and
Mhm.
unfortunately they canned all the sequels because of that. But to me, I was watching the behind the scenes of that one, and it was just a fun fantasy film. I grew up on Edgar Rice Burroughs, so I was familiar with John Carter of Mars and all of that. But watching the behind the scenes and seeing all the visual effects and the stunts and just all of the moving pieces, like that's part of what I love as a producer is the puzzle. How do we put this all together so that we end up with this final product that is amazing with the pieces that we have. And that was kind of the epitome of that, watching the behind the scenes, because they had, green screens and set extensions and motion capture and, big wire pull stunts and, just a lot of stuff going on. and showed nearly all of it in this single behind the scenes piece of footage. And that was just kind of like, oh yeah, these are the type of movies I would really love to make. Eventually we'll get there, but all of that
I
requires
agree.
money.
Yeah,
So,
but I
but
absolutely think you will. And by the way, fingers crossed, it could definitely just be a rumor, but I think I've seen that they picked up the sequels again.
could be. There's a lot of stuff moving in the industry. A lot of things that are rumored to be coming back. We'll see which ones actually happen. Yeah,
Yep.
fingers crossed. There are a few TV shows they keep saying are going to come back too this next year, and we'll see. They're finally redoing Stargate, or I shouldn't say redoing, but doing another Stargate show.
I am
That
so pumped.
took years. So am I. I've been a big fan of Stargate ever since the movie, really, but especially with
Mhm.
SG1 and Atlantis and all of that coming out. So I'm really excited to see them doing something again. Unfortunately, we just have to wait a couple of years to see what happens.
I've become so much more patient since being in the industry, though. You're like, yeah, it just it takes time.
It really does. People don't understand how long it really takes. I tell people that it takes us a year to make a movie, and they're like, "What?" It's like, well, yeah, and some of them more. Some of
Hmm.
them are 2 or 3 years, and some of them it takes even longer before it gets released. But
Yep.
But yeah, always very exciting. Well, glad to have you on the show, Elijah. Thanks for coming out. And yeah, everybody go watch Among the Eight and keep your eyes open for when you can see Dazy Girl.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. It was a great time.
Always. Thank you.